You know what's strange? Some of the most unforgettable women on earth have absolutely no idea why people can't stop thinking about them. They're not the loudest in the room. They're not the most dressed up. They walk out of a conversation thinking it was completely ordinary, while the other person is sitting in their car 10 minutes later still replaying it. And the wild part is that it almost never comes from her face. It comes from one small, weird habit that most people never notice they're reacting to. And listen, some of you watching this right now have been doing this your whole life without realizing it. You think people remember you because of how you look or what you said. Meanwhile, they remember a feeling they can't even name. That's what we're talking about today. Not Instagram unforgettable, not magazine unforgettable, the kind of presence that lives in someone's head at 2 a.m. for no reason they can explain. So get comfortable, because by the end of this video, some of you are going to recognize yourselves in a way you never have before. And I want you in the comments telling me the exact moment you realized you do this. Here's the habit. The women who are impossible to forget give you their full attention, and then they leave the door slightly open. That's it. That's the whole thing. And I know that sounds too simple, so let me show you exactly what it looks like, because it's hidden inside small moments you'd walk right past. Start with the first piece. She's fully there when she's with you. Now think about the last 10 conversations you had. How many people were actually present, and how many were half listening, waiting for their turn to talk, eyes flicking to their phone? Almost everyone is somewhere else now. We've trained ourselves to be physically here and mentally gone. So when a woman is genuinely present, when she's looking at you like the conversation is the only thing happening in the world, your nervous system reacts before your brain catches up. It feels rare because it is rare. And here's the part that makes it powerful. She's not performing presence. There's a difference, and people feel it instantly. Performed listening leans in too hard, nods too much, says all the right things on cue. Real presence is quieter. It just sits with you. Researchers studying everyday conversation have found the exchanges people rate as most connecting aren't the most energetic ones. They're the ones with more pauses, more room to breathe. The silence wasn't empty. It was proof someone was actually there. That's the first layer of the habit. She makes you feel seen, and almost nobody gets to feel that anymore. Now the second piece, and this is where it gets interesting. She remembers the small things, not the obvious things, the tiny ones, the throwaway detail you mentioned once and forgot you ever said, the name of your sister, the thing you were nervous about last week, the weird snack you said you liked. And weeks later it comes back, casually, like it was never a big deal. And you're sitting there thinking, wait, I barely mentioned that. How did that stay? Here's the mechanism underneath it. People don't remember details unless those details landed emotionally. Memory follows attention, and attention follows interest. So when a woman remembers the small stuff, it isn't a trick she's running. It's evidence that you actually registered for her. And the human brain treats being remembered as being chosen. That's why this one feels so disarming. In a world where everyone is distracted and everyone forgets everything, being remembered in detail feels like being rare. And honestly, the older you get, the more this matters. Because looks become predictable, but the feeling of being genuinely held in someone's mind never gets old.
But now we get to the weird part, the part that actually separates the forgettable from the unforgettable. She doesn't tie everything in a bow. She leaves the door slightly open. Let me explain what I mean, because this is the piece almost nobody understands. Most people, when they want to be liked, overgive. They explain everything, they answer every question fully, they tell you their whole story in one sitting, hand you every conclusion, close every loop. And it feels generous, but it does something strange. It removes all the mystery. There's nothing left to wonder about, so there's nothing to come back for. The unforgettable woman does the opposite without even trying. She tells you something real, then lets the moment end before it's fully resolved. She mentions a story and doesn't over-explain it. She shares an opinion and doesn't defend it to death. She leaves, and the conversation feels slightly unfinished, like there's a second half you didn't get to. And that unfinished feeling is exactly what makes your brain keep circling back. There's a real psychological reason for this. It's called the Zeigarnik effect, named after the researcher who noticed that waiters could remember complex, unpaid orders perfectly, but the moment the bill was settled, the memory vanished. The unfinished holds in the mind. The completed gets released. So when someone wraps every interaction up neatly, your brain files it away and moves on. When someone leaves a thread open, your brain keeps it active. It literally cannot let go. That's not manipulation. The unforgettable ones usually have no idea they're doing it. They're just comfortable enough not to over-explain themselves. And that comfort is the rarest thing of all. Now, here's where I have to stop you, because some of you are already misreading this. You're thinking, okay, so I should play hard to get. I should be cold. I should hold back and act mysterious. No, that's the cheap version, and people feel the difference immediately. Coldness pushes people away and leaves nothing warm to return to. The real version is warmth plus space. She's open, she's present, she gives you something real, and then she simply doesn't need to give you everything. The withholding isn't a strategy, it's self-containment. She's a full person on her own, with or without your attention, and that quiet completeness is magnetic in a way performed mystery never is. And this is the thing that ties it all together. Notice what these three pieces have in common: full presence, real memory, and an open door. Every single one of them comes from the same root. She isn't anxious about whether you like her. The woman who is impossible to forget is the woman who isn't trying to be unforgettable. That's the paradox at the center of all of this. The harder you chase being memorable, the more forgettable you become, because chasing reads as need, and need makes people pull back. But when you're settled in yourself, you can actually be present because you're not busy managing your image. You can remember the small things because you were genuinely listening instead of rehearsing your next line. You can leave the door open because you don't need to prove your whole worth in one conversation. The habit isn't a technique you bolt on. It's what naturally happens when the anxiety goes quiet. And there's something else worth saying, because it surprises people. This kind of presence affects everyone, not just the people attracted to you. You'll notice strangers opening up to you faster than they should, people telling you things they normally hide, then saying, "I don't know why I'm telling you this." That happens because emotional safety is one of the most powerful and most starved for things there is right now. Everyone is guarded. Everyone is performing. So when someone feels genuinely safe and genuinely seen around you, their guard drops without permission. And humans don't forget the person they felt safe with. They forget how you looked long before they forget how you made them feel. Researchers who study how closeness forms found that two strangers could go from total strangers to feeling deeply bonded in under an hour, not by doing anything impressive, but by paying real, sustained, unhurried attention to each other. Not charm, not performance. Attention. That's the entire engine. And here's what almost nobody realizes. There's also a rule in psychology called the peak end effect, which says people don't remember an experience by its average. They remember it by its most intense moment and by how it ended. So a woman who is fully present in the peak and leaves the ending slightly open is hitting both levers at once, completely by accident. The peak feels rare and the end feels unfinished. That combination is almost impossible to shake. Now sit with the beautiful part of all this. The most unforgettable women usually can't see it in themselves because you live inside your own presence every single day. You normalize the way you listen, the way you remember, the way you make a room feel calmer. It's invisible to you because it's just you. Meanwhile, someone out there experienced you as the person they couldn't stop thinking about, and you have no idea it happened. Somebody replayed a conversation with you this week. Somebody felt safer because you were there, and you probably wrote it off as nothing. So if you saw yourself in this, stop shrinking the thing that makes you rare. Being impossible to forget was never about being perfect or beautiful or saying the exact right words. Forget perfection. Perfection is forgettable. It's polished and closed, and nothing about it invites you back. The real thing is messier and warmer. It's presence, memory, safety, and the quiet confidence to leave a little unsaid. Because here's the whole equation, the entire video in one line. The most unforgettable thing about you isn't what you show people. It's the part of you they're still trying to figure out after you're gone. If this hits something real, tell me in the comments which of these three you do without realizing it: the presence, the memory, or the open door. And if this reminded you of your own worth even a little, subscribe and stay, because we're building a space where psychology actually feels human.